of the Scripps News Group.
Welcome to the National Report on Scripps News. I'm Whitney Burney in Detroit. Let's get you caught up on some of today's top stories. Bahrain says Iran struck one of its crucial desalination plants as the war in Iran escalates. The attack threatens drinking water supplies for Gulf nations. Meanwhile, Israeli strikes hit oil depots in Tehran, creating environmental concerns. Saudi Arabia has reported its first deaths, saying a military projectile fell onto a residential area and killed 2 people. President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu have vowed to continue their coordinated campaign against Iran. It appears Russia won't step in to support its ally Iran anytime soon. Russian President Vladimir Putin has indicated that he hopes the Iran war will help with Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Moscow is already profiting from higher oil prices caused by the conflict. The Kremlin hopes the war will distract from Ukraine and force Western nations to reduce military aid to Kyiv. The NYPD is investigating an improvised explosive device, or IED, that went off outside the mayor's mansion during clashing protests on Saturday. Police say an anti-Islam protest led by a pardoned January 6 rioter drew about 20 people in front of Zohran Mamdani's home, New York City's first Muslim mayor. A counter-protest called Drive the Nazis Out of New York drew about 125 people. Police say a counter-protester threw the explosive after someone from the other group used pepper spray. The IED landed in a crosswalk and did not hurt anyone, but the NYPD says it had the potential to cause serious injury or death. Events and demonstrations around the world are marking International Women's Day on Sunday. The occasion is meant to celebrate progress toward female empowerment while bringing attention to things like equal pay, reproductive rights, education, and justice. The 2026 theme is Give to Gain, focusing on fundraising for women's organizations.
It is perhaps the most dramatic footage to come out of the war so far, the sinking of that Iranian warship in the Indian Ocean. It's the first time the U.S. has used a submarine to sink a battleship since World War II. Laura Acevedo with our Scripps News Group in San Diego talked to a retired submarine commander about the effort behind such an attack.
This is video of the torpedo attack launched by the U.S. Navy on Tuesday, sinking an Iranian warship in the Indian Ocean, something that hasn't been done in decades.
Since World War II. But that shouldn't leave you the impression that we don't practice a lot.
David Marquet is a retired nuclear submarine commander with the U.S. Navy. With over 30 years of service, he spent 14 years on submarines. He was captain of this sub, the USS Santa Fe. Once stationed in Pearl Harbor, that submarine is now homeported here in Point Loma. As Marquet explains, the submarine force, often referred to as the silent service, is exactly that.
We like that. We like not being visible. That's the whole idea.
He says sailors practice torpedo launches like Tuesday's strike regularly without the mechanism that creates the explosion.
Every submarine in the fleet shoots multiple torpedoes with exercise warheads every year. We practice the system end to end all the time.
Often going silent and undetected below the surface, he says submarines can deploy as part of a carrier strike group. And in peacetime, they'll collect intelligence and observe enemy operating patterns. But in wartime,
we sink ships. We also launch missiles. So they might be in position to launch Tomahawk missiles.
According to the Associated Press, the attack Tuesday killed at least 87 Iranian sailors. The U.S. submarine that launched the torpedo hasn't been disclosed for military security.
We practice this. We always sort of hope that we don't have to do it because that means deterrence has failed.
Laura Acevedo, Scripps News Group.
For the past 21 years, Maman Nafisi has called Las Vegas home. Born in Iran, he was intentional about bringing his pride for his culture and people to the valley, owning a variety of businesses, including a Persian restaurant. But with tensions building in the Middle East, it's also brought mixed feelings.
It's a bittersweet feeling.
Meet Maman Nafisi. This is how he remembers Iran.
We were kids. We played on the street, girls, boys.
Nafisi moved to the U.S. when he was 15 in 1975, years before the Islamic Revolution in 1979. He says that's when everything changed.
Pre-79, we were walking around and everybody used to think we're Prince of Persia. And then right after that, overnight, we became the terrorist.
Nafisi is now a businessman in the Valley, owning a restaurant and a used car dealership, but he still has family there.
My other sister lives in Tehran. She is a caretaker of my 92-year-old mother.
He says they're in the middle of the attacks.
They are doing well. They're getting bombed. All around them is being bombed.
While he says he's not for any death and hopes for his family's safety, he says this is needed to stop the oppression he says the people of Iran have faced.
At some point, this nightmare had to end. 50 years is enough.
Local Eddie Khalili agrees.
You know, sometimes you have to make sacrifices, and you got to do what you got to do for the long term.
Meanwhile, many in our valley are also against a U.S.-Iran war. According to a human rights group, there have been at least 1,000 deaths, including Americans. Associated Press is reporting Iran closed the Strait of Hormuz, which experts say will impact gas and other industries in the U.S. However, Nafisi and Khalili say while that is horrible, they believe it's needed for Iran to thrive.
All the people in the world get to see Iran and see how the Iranian people, how wonderful they actually are.
We all have to pay a price to free our country.
Reporting in Las Vegas, I'm Ryan Ketchum.
Tonight, sources familiar with the investigation into the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie.
The search for Nancy Guthrie.
Any trace of Nancy Guthrie.
The search for Savannah Guthrie's frail, elderly mother, Nancy.
And I have to think this Nancy Guthrie case constantly on the news.
Yeah.
What does that do to your mental well-being?
It's really... It's hard because just like seeing like another family like going, like just knowing how they feel is really hard.
Elena Mita's 87-year-old grandfather, Petro Cucho, disappeared on December 12th after walking out of his new apartment in Clearwater. Petro had just moved here from Greece. He doesn't speak English, and he suffers from dementia.
The last time I saw him, he couldn't remember my name, and sometimes he'd get confused on where he was.
As his memory faded, so did his sense of direction. The morning he vanished, while everyone else was asleep, Petro made coffee, then walked out the door. He was wearing only his pajamas. No cell phone, no wallet, no money, no ID.
I think the hardest part is thinking how he was feeling during that time. And how scared he must have been. It's really hard.
This is the only video of Petro, a slow shuffle walk through the gated complex. His mobility limited. Sometimes he even needed a walker. And somehow, he just disappears. Petro moved here with his wife, Christina, and Elena says some days her grandmother understands he's gone.
I think sometimes she realizes he's gone, and I hear her crying a lot, which is really hard.
For Elena, the grief is constant, even in ordinary moments.
You sort of feel guilty for just enjoying normal day-to-day things, knowing that he might not be okay, but I still have to go to work and do these things. It can be really hard.
We wanted to be able to go out here and still be effective and give back to the community somehow.
Retired police detective and undercover investigator Billy Lane founded We Are the Essentials, a nonprofit dedicated to helping families find missing loved ones. The team is made up of former law enforcement officers, military members, and private investigators, volunteering their time to bring answers and closure.
It doesn't make sense. He walked in a fence line inside of a gated area, and he just disappeared.
We recently joined the search team at the pointed Clearwater complex on Oak Trail West, where Petro was last seen. This time they brought cadaver dogs, searching thick woods and brush behind the complex and a nearby dealership.
So based on the area and the search pattern, he should be in one of these wooded areas here, and potentially even at the end of the drive is another wooded area.
Still, there was no sign of Petro, but there is no sign of surrender either.
We're just trying to bring this family some answers, and we need the public's help to do that.
And for Elena, there will be no peace until they know.
It's like this feeling that isn't gonna go away until you know what's happened.
I'm Wendy Ryan, Scripps News Group.
Scripps News, part of the Scripps News Group.
There are new details surfacing about the growing cost of alligator Alcatraz. Jamie Ostroff with our Scripps News Group in West Palm Beach obtained thousands of pages of documents from the state. We found that alligator Alcatraz is asking the federal government for more than $1 billion.
$1.49 billion. That was the initial ask from the Florida Division of Emergency Management to FEMA, according to this grant application from August. At that point, Florida had been housing immigration detainees at Alligator Alcatraz for a month and a half.
Well, almost $1.5 billion. Was that a shock to you to see that number?
It was a shock.
Paul Schwepp is one of the attorneys who filed the lawsuit that led to a massive release of documents from FDEM, including that grant application. He represents Friends of the Everglades, the Miccosukee tribe, and other environmental groups.
They they just confirm what we've known all along, that this facility in the Everglades was requested by the federal government, built by the state in conjunction with the federal government.
They plan to use the documents in a separate federal lawsuit, arguing that a federal environmental law was violated when Alligator Alcatraz was built. The federal and state governments have pushed back in that case, arguing Alligator Alcatraz is paid for and run by the state of Florida, and therefore not subject to the federal law.
The way the National Environmental Policy Act is supposed to work is before you begin construction of a federal project, that's when you analyze what the environmental impacts of that will be.
We took the FEMA money that Joe Biden allocated to pay for the free luxury hotel rooms, where he's paying hundreds of millions of dollars in New York City, and we used it to build this project.
I planned to ask White House Deputy Press Secretary Abigail Jackson about President Trump's previous statements that FEMA was paying for Alligator Alcatraz.
I'm going to call it.
But Jackson did not show up for our scheduled interview. Jamie Ostroff, Scripps News Group.
For the many migrants and hikers that hike and walk through this just north of the Mexico-Arizona border, the first sign of water is usually this flag and that barrel right there. But recently, Tucson Samaritans and the Humane Borders organization tell me it's been subject to vandalism.
Unfortunately, our stations have been a target.
This post on Instagram from the Humane Borders organization in Tucson is causing conversation. It shows a snap flagpole used as a marker to locate fresh water for those migrating, hiking, or Border Patrol agents near the U.S.-Mexico border.
This is a kind of an unusual occurrence in that the pole the metal had been broken.
I spoke with Humane Borders chairwoman Lori Cantillo over the phone. She's not ruling out the possibility of it being an accident.
Is it possible this could have been caused by a strong wind gust? I suppose it's possible.
But says it's likely vandalism because of the way the pole is snapped and the fact that there have been several previous incidents. Take a look at some of these photos and videos showing the previous incidents, including graffiti, tanks cut with a knife, and some barrels stolen. One even shows a bullet hole. In this one, a man draining the barrel.
It hurts me because it means that you want somebody to die.
Tucson Samaritan Gail Kosarek, who works closely with Humane Borders, showed me around some of the barrows, saying it's crucial for those who find themselves in the Sonoran Desert to have access to fresh drinking water.
So water is to save lives for anybody, and our goal is to save lives.
Lori noted these actions won't deter Humane Borders from their mission of humanitarian aid. It only fuels them to keep pushing and putting out several dozen of these barrels around southern Arizona.
We do encounter a particular location that is hit repeatedly by vandals, which is a crime. We report every incident of vandalism to the appropriate jurisdiction.
The Arizona legislature states some of the punishments include fines or possible jail time. Cantillo says it's normally handled by the Pima County Sheriff's Office. Mark Monroy, Scripps News Group.
If you care about freedom, care about theirs too.
So many trying to fit into the committee room.
There's no seats now.
More may have been turned away.
If there's no seats, you have to stand outside.
Than let inside.
Let's shut the door. Let's shut the door. We got 3. Can you let folks know?
Ain't no power like the power of the people, because the power of the people don't stop.
To those that are in attendance today, hissing like a cat will get you thrown out of this committee.
All to hear a controversial bill that actually stalled out last year.
Item number 5 on your calendar, House Bill 793 by Leader Lamberth.
In 2025, Representative William Lamberth initially wanted to allow school districts to charge tuition for undocumented immigrants until they ran into $1 billion federal education funding problem.
There's no way that I want to bring a bill forward that would endanger $1.1 billion while we are trying to add additional funds in for K-12 public education.
With no assurances from the Trump administration, the bill has been amended.
But at the core of this is about data and information. That's it.
This version requires public school districts to request documentation of a child's legal status when they enroll.
And then report back to us, specifically the Department of Education, on how many students are in our schools that are legally present in the United States.
Names and addresses of the children are not supposed to be reported by the schools in these reports.
Right now, we simply do not know what the attendance is in our school systems across the state regarding children who are here illegally.
Several signed up to speak against the bill.
Punishing children
children and not educating them does not make Tennessee safer.
Including an immigration attorney who said this will be hard data to track.
A child's immigration status can be a roller coaster due to waiting times, backlogs, court reversals, and executive memos.
Why are you wanting to treat children?
You were out of order.
No.
You were warned.
Want to treat them like punks?
You were warned.
A small disruption before the vote proved to be a prelude of what was to come.
Has everyone voted? Would anyone like to change their vote? Seeing none. Seeing none. House Bill 793 moves to full timing. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Clear the room. Will the Sergeant at Arms please clear the room?
Democrats worry data like this could be sent to federal immigration enforcement.
With any list, names can get leaked. Those names can be distributed under the table. It's just a dangerous thing.
Representative Lamberth declined an interview in the hallway, but eventually agreed to one up on the office level.
Without that data, it's hard to really identify the scope of the issue that we're dealing with.
There's lots of concerns that that data might be used and, to be given to ICE or to other law enforcement sources. What assurances can you get?
The federal government does all of those programs, and they do that separate from what this is. I mean, this is literally just about macro data so that we can know generalized numbers.
This is for our children who are innocent. All children have a right to.
It's unclear if this measure will ultimately pass, but it is pretty certain the crowds won't be thinning anytime soon.
I hate to see what happened up there. I hate to see the cowardice of some of my colleagues.
If you care about freedom, care about theirs too.
With photojournalist Bud Nelson, Chris Davis.
The snow is falling, slopes are calling, but then why are so many kids ending up here instead? I'm talking to an orthopedic pediatric surgeon who's sounding the alarm about a concerning trend and sharing simple steps you can take to keep your kids off crutches this winter.
March tends to bring some of the harshest snowstorms in parts of the country, and along with it, fresh powder can be attractive for people taking those spring break ski trips. But already this winter, doctors say they're seeing a rise in serious injuries, especially in kids, when it comes to those winter activities. Scripps News Group's Faraz Javed explains what people need to watch for from Detroit.
13-year-old Gabriel Klein should be in school playing with his friends. Instead, he's at the doctor's office, and his T-shirt says it all.
Hurts a lot, would not recommend. What's going on over there?
A skiing accident shattered both bones in Gabriel's right leg, putting him under the care of Dr. Ahmed Bazi.
I decided to go on this hill called White Lightning at Mount Holly, and while I was going down, I gained too much speed, and I hit a bump, which caused me to crash.
Gabriel says it happened on a slope far above his skill level, and in seconds he went from thrill to trauma.
This is where his leg or tibia broke in half in a spiral fashion, so it twisted. And it was significantly displaced, and it required surgery.
With a steel rod stabilizing the bone, Gabriel was back on his feet within weeks, a recovery Dr. Bazi calls remarkable.
How are you recovering so far?
Pretty good.
But this isn't just Gabriel's story. His accident is part of a troubling trend Dr. Bazi has been seeing this winter, a dramatic rise in severe ski and snowboard injuries among kids.
Skiing injuries usually are kind of just a passive thing that shows up in your clinic once a year. This season specifically, I've seen a really big uptick.
This month alone, Dr. Bazi says he's treated more than 30 young patients for slope-related injuries. He points to a combination of risky behavior, limited training, poor equipment fit, and harsher slope conditions. Plus, with March still part of Michigan's winter season, icy, compact snow means more speed and a harder landing.
Natural snow has packed on a little tight. It has thawed a little bit. It has frozen, became icy, and then obviously more artificial snow goes on top. So that what you're landing on is a little bit different.
That's translating into a rise in serious injuries that can sideline kids for weeks.
Always protect your noggin, obviously wear a helmet, and I think that's very, very important. Learning how to fall, obviously it's a huge lesson for many sports.
Meanwhile, Gabriel wants to turn his painful journey into an inspirational and cautionary message for his 3 young siblings.
What are you going to be looking out for?
I'm going to make sure that they're not going to try to go on hills too big that they'll get hurt on, and also make sure they're being careful.
I'm Faraz Javed, Scripps News Group.
Counterfeit car seats are making their rounds among families and even at hospitals. Ahead, where a lot of these unsafe seats are being sold and how you can tell the difference between a legit and unsafe seat.
Well, if we look at how the markets closed on Wall Street on Friday, it was a disappointing result for investors. As we look up at the board, the Dow Jones was down 450 points, or 0.95%. The S&P 500 was down 1.33%. And the Nasdaq was down 1.59% at the close of play on Friday. Now, a range of factors contributed to the market drop on Friday, but one of the big ones contributing was what we saw with the prices of oil. Now, prices have spiked dramatically since the US-Israel-Iran conflict started last weekend. And on Friday afternoon, the price of Brent crude was sitting around $92.20 a barrel, an 8% increase in a day and a 26% increase over the last week. West Texas Intermediate was trading at $90 a barrel, around a 12% increase from Thursday. Now, when oil prices are high, it affects many sectors of the economy that rely on oil, which is why investors are so concerned. And one of the first things that we think of when it comes to the oil price, understandably, is the cost of gasoline. Now, on Friday afternoon, it was around 33 cents more expensive per gallon in the US than it was this time last week. Another reason the broad market index has finished down was sector-specific falls in sectors like aviation and banking. Aviation was hammered again on Friday. All major airlines were down on Friday afternoon, including American Airlines, which was down 5.1% just before the close at 4 o'clock. There was another headache for officials too on Friday. The Bureau of Labour Statistics released the jobs report for February, where analysts had expected job creation would be around 50,000 jobs, and when it came out, it was a bit of a shock because the economy shed 92,000 jobs. All to say, it's been a difficult day on the markets after being an already difficult week. Mitch McCann, Scripps News Group, New York.
Airbags are supposed to save lives. So what happens if the very devices that are supposed to protect us actually put us in danger? I'm consumer investigator Jacqueline Allen, and this story came on my radar because of my reporting on salvage title cars and the issues people are having with them. Someone reached out to me and said there's a larger issue at play here that you need to look into, and it has to do with cheap, substandard airbags.
This is a fully survivable crash.
What happened in this crash claimed the life of 17-year-old Alexia De La Rosa.
This was her first car.
But a lawsuit just filed Monday claims she didn't die because of the crash itself. She died because of the defective airbag.
You essentially get an explosion of jagged metal. It is a bomb inside your steering wheel.
Attorney Andrew Parker Felix, representing Alexia's family, says her death is one of 9 across the country, linked to counterfeit Chinese-made airbag parts installed in used cars. In Florida, it took the life of a young mother. Her friend speaking to Scripps News Tampa in 2024, still grappling with the loss.
The airbag's supposed to save your life, but it took her life.
The threat's serious enough that federal regulators issued this urgent warning in January, saying the parts are made by the Chinese supplier DTN, likely imported illegally, and installed in cars mostly with salvage or rebuilt titles. Industry videos obtained by Denver 7 Investigates show in test drives these counterfeit airbag parts can explode like a grenade in the steering wheel. The most recent lawsuit alleges Alexia's mom, Tessie, bought her car as a 16th birthday present at an auto-savvy dealership.
Tessie was told that this car was just as good as new.
We don't want to be in the news. It's not the first time Denver 7 Investigates has uncovered serious safety concerns about auto-savvy's salvage title cars.
It has to be rebuilt back to manufacturer specs.
The company has 2 dealerships in Colorado.
I wanted to share the story to warn people.
Charlie Darnell found her auto-savvy car had undisclosed damage and substandard repairs, winning $313,000 in arbitration. In August, we spoke via Zoom with auto-savvy's CEO, Brett Parham. Could you do more to make sure your customers have safe cars?
Yeah, I think we need to take some time to review our triple inspection process and see if there's anything else that we can do to make it more thorough and more exacting.
While AutoSavvy has not yet responded to Denver 7 Investigates about counterfeit airbags, we uncovered a gap in the VIN inspection process of salvage title cars in Colorado. Is there a concern that this could happen in Colorado?
For sure, there is a concern.
Colorado State Patrol Sergeant Ivan Alvarado says inspectors can't take apart cars to check airbags, meaning defective parts could pass inspection and end up on the road. Who needs to step up and make sure that these are not in Colorado cars?
I can tell you that obviously we're going to be looking at it. I know that it's going up to my chain of command, but again, we're following the standard.
Jacqueline Allen, Scripps News Group.
106 of the most important items families buy for young children is a car seat. And there's growing concern about counterfeit products being sold online. Tampa police recently shared this picture of a counterfeit car seat. The most concerning part here is these seats look totally legit, but safety experts say some are not designed to protect your child in a crash. Families are mistakenly purchasing these products themselves and receiving them as gifts.
We've even seen a car seat that was made for a doll that had not been approved by any safety standard that a family brought to a hospital.
Experts say the rise in counterfeit car seats are coming from websites like Temu, Shein, even TikTok, with prices that aren't realistic. So how can you tell the difference between a legit and a counterfeit seat? Well, the label should have a key phrase stating it has met federal motor vehicle safety standards. It should also include height and weight limits, a model number, a manufacturing date, and an expiration date. Look for any spelling errors on the label. And another thing to check for is that harness. Most legitimate car seats have a chest clip.
A My Team investigator Adam Walser, a Pasco County man, turned to a property wholesaler to try to save the home that had been in his family for decades from going to auction over tax liens. The wholesaler agreed to pay off his taxes if the homeowner signed over his deed. The problem is the wholesaler never paid his taxes, and the home ended up auctioned anyway.
If it was your property, then why don't you come over there?
Find out right now.
If it was your property, why don't you come over there?
Is there a reason you have a
damn right I carry a gun.
This video, which went viral in Miami in 2020, shows Joe Fuchek pull out a gun during an argument with a homeowner after leaving a We Buy Houses flyer in his mailbox.
And there's a reason you're using profanity.
Damn right I'm a carry a gun, because I'm a 35-year former Navy SEAL, and I was the head of the SWAT team in Hillsborough County. That's right. Go look at my Purple Heart and take my tag.
Fuchek has no military or law enforcement background, despite having a photo of himself in a Navy dress uniform and fake Navy SEAL and Purple Heart certificates in his apartment at the time of his arrest. He was convicted of assault with a deadly weapon and possession of a weapon by a convicted felon and was put on 3 years probation with a special condition that he stop impersonating a veteran. But his probation is now over, and Fuchek has opened a new company called Results Home Buyer in Hernando County. A seal on its website says American Veteran.
Well, my parents lived here, and then I came in after they passed away. And
it's going wherever we go. 69-year-old Joe Stancic and his son, who was also named Joe, say Fuchek sent a flyer to their home after they fell behind on property taxes, and the property was scheduled to be auctioned. They say they called Fuchek, and he came to their house.
And he says that he's not going to charge us no interest to get the property taxes that we're delinquent paid off, and because he feels that we're nice people and he's a nice guy, so he's going to give a helping hand.
The younger Joe Stancic, his grandfather, and his uncles all served in the military, and they say they trusted Fuchek since he claimed to be a veteran. The Stancics say Fuchek agreed to pay off $4,200 they owed in back taxes and leased their home back to them until they paid him back, but they have nothing in writing. They drove to a nearby UPS store where they signed a quitclaim deed Fuchek prepared and had it notarized. Looks like you signed over the deed to your home, right?
Yeah.
That's a big deal, huh?
Yeah, it's a real big deal.
They say they never got any paperwork from him.
The day before the tax auction, we sent him a text saying, hey, are you sure the property taxes are paid?
But they weren't paid, and the home was auctioned on October 30th for $132,100. The county's assessed value was $222,000. You thought that your home was going to be safe?
Yes, sir. Sure did.
You found out it was auctioned?
Yeah.
How'd you feel when you heard that?
Dropped my jaw. I was ready to just give up.
Last month, the person who bought the house at auction filed an eviction lawsuit against Stancic and Fuchek, since the Stancics were living there and Fuchek was named on the deed. The Stancics filed an emergency motion alleging Fuchek obtained the deed through fraud, elder exploitation, and improper inducement. The judge ruled in their favor, moving the case to civil court, where the Stancics have filed a complaint for quiet title based on fraudulent conveyance. If the family loses, Fuchek can apply to claim surplus funds from the tax sale, about $128,000, since he held title at the time of the sale.
Hey, is this Joseph? Hi, it's Adam Walser. I'm with Tampa Bay 28.
I called Fuchek and asked him about the transaction. He says he met with the family but didn't agree to the deal.
But you didn't walk away. You filed the quitclaim deed, right?
He declined an on-camera interview and would not let us record his voice, but stayed on the phone more than 14 minutes.
Did you tell Joe that you were retired military, that you had a Purple Heart?
He hung up seconds after I asked that. We then went to his rental home where he and his brother, who was listed as a witness on the deed, were walking out. Fuchek ran into the backyard when he saw our camera.
Did we talk to you about all this stuff? Is that your property?
Fuchek later got into the Jeep and they drove away.
Can you talk to us? Joe?
I constantly thinking about it. It's got my gut turned.
The Stancics warned others to thoroughly check out any real estate investor before doing business with them.
I wish I would have done my research. That's for sure.
After all, a simple Google search of Joseph Fuchek's name would have turned up this video.
And if it was your property, why didn't you walk over there? Because you're a lying. That's why. Nosy.
Okay.
Taking a trip overseas can be relaxing, fun-filled, and can broaden your horizons. For one Virginia man, a recent trip to Europe helped him understand his father's fight for survival 80 years ago. Greg McQuaid from our Scripps News Group met that man whose father escaped the unimaginable.
Pretty peaceful out here this afternoon. Home may be where the heart is, but for John and Eleanor Harper, it's a nice calmness in West Point.
Yep.
traveling beyond the beauty of coastal Virginia provides the spice of life.
Enjoy traveling. We've been to the Caribbean, we've been to Ireland, we've been to Maine, we've been to several places.
Recently, the couple stamped their passports visiting a new destination, Germany.
I did not know how I was really going to feel.
On the itinerary, seeing the sights, but you won't find these landmarks in any travel guides.
It wasn't a vacation.
On this trip, John is chasing the past.
When I hit those places and I think about them, it's still emotional.
He is determined to visit the places that altered the life of the man he always looked up to.
That would have been my dad, John Paul Harper.
John Harper served as a nose gunner on a B-24 during World War II.
Dad was 19, a teenager.
On August 4th, 1944, the Daisy May is crippled by flak.
The plane could maybe catch fire, explode, and then there was a decision to bail out at that time by the pilot.
The airman parachutes into enemy territory.
He was asked many times, were you scared? He said everybody was scared.
In 2018, the veteran tells me it is the beginning of a 9-month nightmare.
My chute opened, and when I finally settled down from swinging, it was very quiet. I heard a guy hollering. I looked, it was a German soldier, and he had a rifle pointed to me.
The teenager spends several miserable months in a POW camp.
It only got worse, yes.
As the German army was collapsing, John and thousands of American prisoners are marched 600 miles in brutal conditions.
My dad never took his boots off from day one to the end of the march. Not one time. He said if you took them off, he might not ever get them back on.
The so-called Shoe Leather Express lasts 86 days. Hundreds die along the route.
And this was done without food or very little food, very little water, in some of the most harsh conditions that Europe has experienced.
When the Americans are finally rescued, the 6-foot-tall Harper weighed just 91 pounds.
We were fatigued and we were starving, but we were free. And I can't tell you how good that felt that day.
It is this odyssey, 82 years ago, that draws a curious son across the Atlantic to retrace his father's steps.
It probably allowed me to create a more emotional connection to the story.
A historian in Germany who researched Harper's doomed B-24 leads John and families of other crew members to the crash site.
It's just an incredible experience to do what he did to try to preserve this history.
Metal detectors help turn up relics of the Daisy May buried deep in a field.
Say what it is, John.
Crazy experience.
Far from the plane.
It's so exciting to be out there on the hunt.
He couldn't stand still. He was going from one hole to the other, trying to find parts.
The 74-year-old son visits the site where his father was captured, the camp where he was held prisoner, and the spot where John would sleep during the death march.
And you're standing in this barn, and then all of a sudden you realize, my dad was in this barn.
The Germans even unveil a new memorial dedicated to the Daisy May.
By preserving their history.
Once strangers, the German hosts and the American tourists grow close over a dark chapter in shared history.
I met numerous Germans, some incredible people, incredibly caring people.
John returns to West Point with souvenirs of a different sort.
Yes, I came back with actually parts from the Daisy May.
The traveler is also unpacking a suitcase full of answers to lingering questions.
Your door opens up, you got choice. You can go through the door, you shut the door. You never know what you're missing when you shut the door.
I could feel John's emotion at every stop. I was very happy because I knew it would mean a lot to him to see what his dad went through.
John's dad died in 2022, but in a way, the World War II veteran was walking with his son every step of this journey.
Yeah.
Author John Steinbeck once wrote, "People don't take trips, trips take people."
It turned into a lot different experience than what I was expecting.
For frequent traveler John Harper, this journey to the past, a place of so much pain, was the trip he never knew he needed.
If I hadn't done this, it would have been the biggest mistake of my life.
For I Have a Story.
Because if I'd have missed this, I would have regretted it forever.
I'm Greg McQuaid, Scripps News Group.
As Nicole Kidman puts it, we come to this place for magic. And I came out to AMC theaters to find out how you can get the big screen experience without the big price tag. Sean Carter's a regular at the Newport AMC. He says watching a movie in the theater just hits different.
Just the widescreen and just the environment itself, and somehow you pick up on that just being in an entire theater rather than just sitting at home.
But that experience comes at a higher cost than it used to. In 2016, the average movie ticket cost just $8.65. Today, an AMC movie ticket costs $13.99 for your standard evening movie, plus even more for Dolby, IMAX, or 3D. Carter says he's been doing whatever he can to bring those costs down.
I try to go to matinees when I can, but even the matinees are pretty expensive these days, so.
I asked if the cost of tickets ever deters Carter from going to the theater.
Yes. Unless it's a movie that I really, really want to see or I absolutely enjoy, yes.
If you want to get discounts on tickets or concessions, try signing up for AMC's Loyalty Rewards program. Every time you buy tickets, snacks, or drinks, you'll earn points that can be redeemed for rewards. Cinemark Theaters has a similar loyalty program.
Cinemark Movie Rewards, and that lets you build up points that can be redeemed for discounts on concessions and tickets.
For the lowest prices, keep your sights set on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. AMC Stubs members get 50% off tickets plus 50% off small drink and popcorn combo. You can also catch fan fave movies. See classics back in theaters for a discounted price. At Newport, tickets were $6.25. If you're flexible with your schedule, you can save even more. Every day before 4 p.m., movies are 20% off. There's also daily discounts for seniors, military, and students. Show your ID and you'll save anywhere from $1.50 to $4 per ticket.
So while you might typically plan your movie nights for a Friday or Saturday, consider going midweek. That's going to get you the best bang for your buck so you don't waste your money.